Blender 5.2 release candidate is now out. This is the perfect time to check out some of the new features of this exciting update. As always on CG Dive, we are focusing on the rigging and animation features. But this time, we can't miss the awesome physics updates, which feel like a whole new chapter for Blender. Let's get into it. This is an LTS version, which means that it will be highly reliable and it will keep receiving bug fixes for the next couple of years. There is a really cool new menu when adding new bones. So I'll go to edit mode, delete the default bone, press Shift A to add a new bone. And if I enable the model options, I can tweak the length of the bone. I can set its deform option right away, on or off. But the coolest feature is the align one. Up is the default, but I can also set it to axis, which basically gives me a world-oriented bone. This is something that we need to do a lot in rigging. So it is very nice that I don't need to rotate or orient the bone anymore. I can just use this option. There are other options like viewport. So this will actually change every time you click it, depending on your viewport orientation. And the 3D cursor orientation is a little bit difficult to predict, but it's also an option. We all know how when you duplicate a bone, it gets the 001 suffix that nobody likes, and then we have to manually rename these bones. There is a new operator that improves this. Under armature, duplicate and rename. And it is especially useful when renaming a chain of bones that have some sort of overlapping name, such as the front legs here. They all contain front in their name. So if I go to armature, duplicate and rename, and search for front and rename to rear, and press OK, that will give me the same chain of bones with perfect naming. And because I had X-axis mirror enabled, it also created the other side. Another scenario where this would be useful is in creating MCH bones. For example, I could select all of these bones and duplicate and rename. And now I'm going to name this to MCH front. And now we have MCH bones. Now, of course, this would be a lot more useful if it had the option to add suffixes and prefixes. I hope that will be added in the future. So it feels like this feature can still be improved, but it is already very useful. The operator has this flip names option, which honestly I couldn't understand. There is an update in Blender's Auto IK, a very cool feature, which when enabled allows us to treat a chain of bones as IK even though we don't have any constraints on it. And you may not know, but this feature can also act from the bottom of the chain. However, until Blender 5.1, if there was a parent of this last bone which is disconnected, it just won't work. So let's see what we have now in 5.2. The exact same setup, Auto IK is on, and now if I move this bone, I get the reverse IK behavior. And I noticed something else which wasn't in the notes, but again, I'm back in 5.1. I have Auto IK enabled, and now if I try to move this bone, it will not move past the neck. But in 5.2, it will actually go all the way down to the spine. And by scrolling the mouse wheel, I can control the number of influence bones. Just like we can isolate objects in the 3D viewport by pressing slash, in 5.2 we can now do the same for curves. Just select a curve, press slash in the curve editor, and you'll focus on that curve. And pressing slash one more time will go out of this local curve mode. You can now also control click on any of these eye icons in the curve editor to isolate that set of curves. And control click again will unhide everything. You can also do this for individual curves. So control clicking on the Y Euler curve will only show that. That is a little bit like using the slash shortcut, although the slash will isolate it completely. Whereas control clicking keeps the other curves visible here in the side panel. It is now possible to delete all curve modifiers in the graph editor. For example, here I have the cycles modifier on all curves, which is very easy to add, but then deleting these modifiers needed to be done one by one. But in 5.2, we have a new operator on the channel, delete all F-curve modifiers. And that will delete it from all selected curves. And we also have some additional options here. You can remove all, remove only the first modifier, or remove by type. We have to select the type. In this case, I want to remove cycles, and there we go. The dope sheet has a new selection function. For each keyframe, we can set keyframe type. And now in 5.2, if you go to select by type, you can select all keyframes of a specific type with one click. For example, the extremes, or the breakdowns. There is a little update to motion paths. This is Blender 5.1, and when I have AutoKeying enabled and I'm right at the keyframe and I move the controller, the motion path will only update for this keyframe, and when I release, it's fully updated. In Blender 5.2, we don't have this confusing update anymore. The path will only update once I confirm the change. We've had an in-between tool for bones for a long time. The same tool has now been added for object animations. So in object mode, you'll find this new breakdown tool. And you can use it just like the bone one. If I enable the preview range and set it and play the animation, the playhead will automatically jump to the first frame of the preview range. And that was the only option until now. But now if I go to playback, I can enable allow preroll, and now the animation can start playing from before the range. There is an update to the looping behavior. Until now, the only option was you play the animation, and when it reaches the end of the range, it just resets to the beginning, and it does that over and over. But now on the playback, we find some loop options. The default is infinite, which is the only one we had until now, but now we can change to stop at end frame, which would be very useful. It reaches the end and stops. The next is stop at start frame. So similarly, it will reach the end and it will stop, but this time it will reset to the beginning of the timeline. Next, we have restore frame. I'll move the playhead to 24, play the animation, and now it will stop and then go back to the same frame where we started playing the animation from. Okay. And finally, we have bounce that will play until the end, then it will play backwards, and then forward, and then backwards. I don't know, maybe this is something that experienced animators like. If you have markers in your timeline, you can now use the square bracket keys to select all markers depending on the playhead position. So the opening bracket selects everything before the playhead, and closing bracket selects everything after. Again, this is based on the playhead and not the mouse. I kind of wish it was the mouse. It is a very Blender way to do things. A cool quality of life improvement in the pose library. Here I have a pose for this character, and all of my rig controls are in XYZ Euler mode. Now, if I reset this, set mode to quaternion, and then right-click and copy to selected, now everything will be in quaternion, but the pose will still work. This wasn't the case until now. Now, this may not work every time, but it tends to work. In an update of the outliner, you will now find a list of all shape keys under the object's data. And another shape key improvement. In 5.2, if I click on a shape key and drag it and then reach the edge of the window, Blender will automatically scroll up and down. And somewhat related, I have this shape key selected. I'll scroll down and then press delete on the numpad, and that will focus on the selected shape key, similar to how it works in the 3D viewport. Yay for consistency, and that works not only in shape keys, it doesn't work in vertex groups for some reason, but it does work in the brushes area, for example. Here I'm selecting this brush, scrolling down, and then pressing delete, and Blender will focus back on the selected brush. If you're animating, you should definitely know this. If you go to Edit Preferences, Animation Settings, the only Insert Available option was off by default until now, but from 5.2 it will be on by default. So keep that in mind and tweak your settings if you need to. If you parent an object to a bone like this, you select the object and go to Object Properties, Relations, select the armature as the parent, and then switch parent type to bone, and then select the bone. The object will actually jump to the tail of the bone. But now we have this head-tail slider, which will allow you to tweak the parenting. This is not something I have dealt with, and this is not how I usually parent objects to bones. Usually I just shift-select the bone and go to pose mode and Control-P, parent to bone. And I don't need to deal with any of that. So to me, it's not entirely clear why this is useful, but if it is to you, then great. And of course, the biggest news for many of us is the new physics system. It uses the modern and battle-tested extended position-based dynamics, or XPBD solver, which is also what Houdini physics are based on. And as a start, in Blender 5.2, we are getting ready-to-use cloth and hair modifiers. They're still kind of basic, but I'm sure more updates will be coming soon, and rigid bodies will also probably be included in this system. I'm not going to go into great details here. I already made an overview video, and I'm sure I'll be covering this topic more very soon. Here, I just want to show you that using the system is not difficult. If you select an object that you want to make into cloth and give it a modifier, simulation, cloth dynamics, then you can select another object that you want to be a collider, and again go to Add Modifiers, Simulation, Collider, move the collider into a new collection. Here I have one called Collider. And then for the cloth, under Effectors, set the collection for the colliders. And now if I just play the animation, we'll have a basic cloth simulation. A basic hair simulation is also very easy to add. Select an object that you want to add hair to, press Shift-A, Curves, Empty Hair, go to Sculpt Mode, Add Brush, and add some hair curves. We can make them a little bit longer. And adding the empty hair automatically also added this modifier. If I just switch it to Physics Experimental and play the animation, we'll have a basic hair animation. So this is a great beginning. Now the real work begins. We want this new system to have at least the same kind of options that we had with the old system. And I'm sure this will be added officially. But what's really cool is that because the new system is geometry nodes based, the community can add some of these features. So even before 5.3, I kind of expect that we are going to start seeing some cool features like cloth stitching and even cloth self-collision, which is missing in this initial release. I'll make sure to cover these developments, so stay tuned. When I make these update videos, most people are usually very excited, but there are always people who complain, like, where are the big updates, where are animation layers, and so on. Well, ask yourself if you have contributed to Blender. Only 1 or 2% contribute, and that is why we don't have these big features that you want. Simple as that, so you can make a one-time donation or support Blender monthly. And if you need another reason to support Blender, after 20 years of making open short movies, they are now contemplating making a full feature film. I'll link to this article, check it out. Now I'll share a couple of non-rigging and animation features, which I found noteworthy. One of the big news in this release is the texture cache for cycles. Basically, it reduces memory usage for textures, and that makes it much less likely that you'll run out of memory when rendering. On the flip side, your renders may be slightly slower and you'll see higher disk usage. But overall, this is a great update. A failed render due to low memory can be really annoying, so this is great. Eevee also saw an update. In short, Eevee ray tracing is now better, but it is not fully backwards compatible, which means that if you bring your older scenes from 5.1 and earlier into 5.2, they may look slightly different. If you've been using Blender for a while for modeling, you have very likely used the Loop Tools add-on. In 5.2, a lot of the Loop Tools features have been added into default Blender. So if I select a set of polygons and go to Mesh, Transform to Circle, that is the same as everyone's favorite circle feature from Loop Tools. And I believe a bunch of this set of features here are inspired by Loop Tools. Another big update is that asset libraries can now come from online sources. If you go to Edit, Preferences, you'll notice that we now have a new tab which says Asset Libraries. Previously, we had this functionality on the file paths, so it was moved here. But if I press the plus button, I can add a remote asset library. And CG Matter had a really good video about making these libraries, so I'll link to that. If a very long menu does not fit in your Blender window, you can now hold the middle mouse button and scroll up and down. We all know that when we install a lot of add-ons, this area here in the end panel tends to get cluttered. If we now right-click in the end panel, we have this Compact Tabs option, and that will turn the tabs into squares with just 2 letters in them. So this is a lot cleaner, but it may be difficult to recognize the tabs. So if you just hover over the tab, it will instantly display a pop-up telling you exactly which tab it is. And here's something small that I personally love. If I go to output, we have our resolution here, and occasionally you just want to flip the values so that you have vertical video instead of horizontal. And until now we had to do it manually, but now I can just right click and swap dimensions. And that basically flips the values and gives me a vertical render. Another seemingly small thing that I appreciate a lot, if I create a new image, for example for a texture, and then I try to save my file, Blender will ask me, do you want to save the image as well? That wasn't the case until now, and that way we often lost image data. It is great to see images finally being treated as the important part of the scene that they are. And if you go to Edit Preferences, Save and Load, you can actually define the behavior for saving images. Under Save Modified Images, you can have Blender ask you, always save them, which is probably what I would do, or never save, which was the default until now.